They say visions are gifts from the moon goddess. They lied. Because the one I saw last night, blood-slicked hands, golden eyes burning through smoke, and a voice that made my bones ache, wasn't a gift. It was a warning. The coffee in my hand had gone cold an hour ago, but I kept gripping the cup like it was the only thing tethering me to reality. Outside the window of Crescent Brew, Denver's morning traffic crawled past in a blur of brake lights and exhaust. Normal, boring, safe. Everything my life wasn't. "Rowan, you good?" I blinked and turned toward Milo, my coworker and the only beta in this place, who didn't treat me like I was about to shatter. He leaned against the espresso machine, one eyebrow raised, concern bleeding through his usual smirk. "Peachy," I said, forcing a grin. "Just wondering if that lady in the Subaru knows her bumper's held on with duct tape and prayers." Milo snorted. "You're deflecting." "I'm multitasking." He didn't buy it. Neither did I. The truth was, I hadn't slept. Not really. Every time I closed my eyes, the visions slammed back into me, fragments of a future I didn't want to see. A marble floor, slick with rain and something darker. A man's voice, low and wrecked, whispering a name I couldn't make out. And those eyes, molten gold, furious, desperate, fated. I shoved the thought down hard and drained the cold coffee in one bitter gulp. "I'm fine," I lied. "Just didn't sleep well." Milo tilted his head unconvinced, but thankfully let it drop. He knew better than to push. Most people did. Being a hybrid Omega with precognition wasn't exactly something I advertised. The pack already whispered enough without knowing I could see snippets of the future like some kind of broken crystal ball, broken being the key word, because half the time my visions made no sense until it was too late to stop them. I grabbed a rag and wiped down the counter, focusing on the repetitive motion. Wipe, rinse, repeat. Normal people did normal things. I could pretend to be one of them. "Hey, did you hear?" Milo's voice dropped conspiratorial. "The Enigma King's back in Denver." My hand froze mid-swipe. "Who?" "You seriously don't know?" Milo's eyes went wide. "Cade Thorne, the Alpha. Runs half the pack territories west of the Rockies. Nobody knows where he came from, nobody knows what he wants, and nobody's dumb enough to ask. They call him the Enigma King because he's a walking red flag," I supplied dryly. Milo grinned. "I was gonna say untouchable, but yeah, that works too." I turned back to the counter, scrubbing at a non-existent stain. Cade Thorne. The name didn't mean anything to me, but the way Milo said it, like the guy was half myth, half nightmare, made something cold coil in my chest. "Why's he back?" Milo shrugged. "No clue, but people are freaking out. Apparently he's staying at the Vale." He whistled low. "That's the kind of place where even the doormen have security. Clearances." I didn't respond. My mind was already spinning, pulling at threads I didn't want to touch. Golden eyes. A voice like gravel and smoke. "Rowan!" I forced myself to breathe. "I'm good, just thinking. About how much I hate rich alphas." That at least was true. Across town in a penthouse suite that overlooked the city like a throne room, he stood by the window. I didn't know this yet. Didn't know that at the exact moment Milo said his name, Cade Thorne had tilted his head as if he'd heard it carried on the wind. Didn't know his hand had twitched toward his chest, fingers brushing over the place where a bond mark should have been but wasn't. I didn't know he'd been searching for someone, for longer than I'd been alive. And I definitely didn't know that the vision I'd seen the night before, it wasn't a warning, it was an introduction. The rest of my shift passed in a haze. I smiled at customers, made lattes, pretended my hands weren't, shaking every time I caught a whiff of unfamiliar scent drifting in from the street. By the time I clocked out, the sun had started its descent behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of amber and bruised purple. I pulled my jacket tighter and started the walk back to my apartment. Denver in late autumn was unforgiving, the kind of cold that bit through layers and settled in your bones. I liked it. Cold was honest. It didn't pretend to be anything other than what it was. I was 2 blocks from home when I felt it. A pull, low in my gut, insistent. I stopped walking. No. I knew this feeling, had read about it in every Omegaverse romance novel I'd ever hate read at 3 a.m. The kind of pull that wasn't a suggestion. It was a command. A call. My breath misted in the air as I turned slowly, scanning the street. Empty. Just parked cars and the distant hum of traffic. but the pull didn't fade. It dragged, and then I smelled it. Cedarwood and smoke, rain on hot asphalt, something wild and ancient and utterly unignorable. My vision blurred. Golden eyes, blood, a voice. Found you! I spun, and there he was, Cade Thorne, the Enigma King, standing 10 feet away like he'd been carved from shadows and starlight, eyes locked on mine with an intensity that made my knees forget how to function. You, he said, voice low and wrecked, exactly like the one from my vision. You're... But I didn't let him finish. I ran. My sneakers hit the pavement in a rhythm that matched my heartbeat. Fast, frantic, stupid. Because running from an alpha like Cade Thorne, that was like waving a red flag at a wolf and expecting it to politely look away. But my legs didn't care about logic. They just moved. I cut left down an alley between two brick buildings, my breath coming in sharp bursts that burned my lungs. The scent followed. Cedarwood and smoke, thick enough to taste, wrapping around me like it had claws. Move. Don't look back. Don't... Flash of gold stopped me cold. Not behind me. In front. My vision fractured, splitting the alley into two overlapping images. One showed the empty stretch of pavement ahead. The other showed him. Cade, leaning against the far wall like he'd been waiting for me to arrive. Like he knew exactly where I'd run before I did. I stumbled, my shoulder slamming into the dumpster hard enough to rattle the metal. The vision snapped shut. The alley was empty. Okay, I muttered, pressing a hand to my chest where my heart was trying to break free. Okay, you're fine. Just a little precognitive panic, totally normal. Except it wasn't. My visions didn't work like this. They were snippets, flashes, not full-on previews of the next 30 seconds. I pushed off the dumpster and kept moving, forcing my legs into a jog. The mouth of the alley opened onto a side street, streetlights flickering to life as dusk bled into night. I merged into the flow of pedestrians, keeping my head down, my scent suppressed as much as I could manage, which, let's be honest, wasn't much. Hybrid Omegas didn't exactly come with an off switch. I made it another block before I felt it again. That pull, stronger now, insistent, like a hook lodged in my ribcage, tugging me backward. Nope, I said out loud, earning a weird look from a woman walking her dog. Not today, moon goddess, not ever. I ducked into a corner store, the bell above the door chiming as I slipped inside. The fluorescent lights were too bright, the aisles too narrow, but at least it was public. Witnesses. Safety in numbers. I grabbed a bottle of water I didn't need and pretended to read the label while my pulse tried to claw its way out of my throat. Think, Rowan, think. Cade Thorne was looking for me. Why? How did he even know I existed? And more importantly, why did every instinct I had scream, run, and stay at the same time? The bell chimed again. I didn't have to look up to know. The scent hit first. Cedarwood, smoke, rain. It filled the store like a living thing, curling around the aisles, drowning out the stale smell of old coffee and cleaning products. My fingers tightened around the water bottle. Calm. Stay calm. He's just another alpha. You've dealt with worse. Except I hadn't. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, moving closer. I turned. Cade Thorne stood 3 feet away, hands in the pockets of a black coat that made him look like he'd stepped out of some gothic romance novel. Tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair that fell just past his jaw, framing a face that was all sharp angles and dangerous beauty. And those eyes. Golden, burning, locked on me like I was the only thing in the world worth seeing. You run fast, he said. His voice was low, rough, like he'd spent years speaking in the whispers and forgotten how to raise it. I set the water bottle down carefully. You following me is creepy. You running is ineffective. Wow, thanks for the life coaching. I crossed my arms, ignoring the way my hands trembled. What do you want? His gaze didn't waver. You. The word landed like a punch. I laughed, high, sharp, totally unconvincing. Yeah, no. Hard pass. I don't do cryptic alphas with stalker tendencies. Something flickered in his expression. Amusement? Frustration? It was gone too fast to tell. You felt it, he said, taking a step closer. The pull. I took a step back. My spine hit the shelf behind me. I don't know what you're talking about. Liar. Rude. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. Almost. I've been searching for you, he said quietly. For a long time. Cool origin story. Still not interested. But my voice cracked on the last word, and we both heard it. Cade's eyes softened. Just a fraction. Just enough to make my chest ache in a way I didn't understand. What's your name? He asked. I shouldn't answer. Shouldn't give him anything. Rowan? I said anyway. He repeated it. Slow. Reverent. Like it was a prayer he'd been waiting his whole life to speak. Rowan. And something inside me shifted. Not broke, not healed, just moved, like a lock clicking into place. The vision slammed into me without warning, his hands cupping my face, rain streaking down both our skin, his voice broken and desperate. Don't leave me again. I gasped, stumbling forward. Cade caught me before I hit the ground, his hands steady on my arms, his scent wrapping around me like a blanket I didn't ask for but couldn't let go of. Rowan. His voice was closer now, urgent. What's wrong? I shoved him back. Hard. He let me. Don't touch me, I said, my voice shaking. Just don't. He raised his hand slowly, palms out. Surrender. Or maybe patience. I won't hurt you, he said. You don't know that. I do. You don't know me. His eyes held mine. I know enough. I wanted to scream, wanted to run again, wanted to grab him by the collar and demand answers to questions I didn't even know how to ask. Instead, I just stood there, my breath coming in short bursts, my heart hammering against my ribs like it was trying to break free and crawl into his chest. This is insane, I whispered. I know. I don't even believe in fated mates. I didn't either. I laughed. It sounded broken. Then why does this feel like drowning? Cade's expression cracked. Just for a second. Just long enough for me to see the weight he was carrying. The loneliness. The fear. Because it is, he said softly. And I'm drowning too. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Somewhere in the back of the store a refrigerator hummed, and I realized with a sinking, terrifying certainty that I wasn't going to run again. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. Okay, I said, my voice barely audible. Okay. You've got 5 minutes. Explain. Cade exhaled. Relief flooded his features. Not here, he said. Somewhere safe. I raised an eyebrow. You think I'm getting in a car with you? I think you already know you will. Damn him. He was right. I followed him out of the store, which was either the smartest or dumbest decision I'd ever made. The jury was still out. His car was parked half a block down. Black. Sleek. Expensive in that understated way that screamed old money and zero patience for questions. He opened the passenger door without a word, waiting. I stared at the open door like it might bite. This is the part where you murder me and dump my body in the mountains, isn't it? Cade's lips twitched. If I wanted you dead, you'd already be dead. Wow, romantic. You asked. Fair point. I slid into the car, my pulse kicking up again as the door closed behind me. The interior smelled like him. Cedarwood and smoke and something else I couldn't name. Something that made my hindbrain sit up and purr like a traitor. Cade got in on the driver's side, his movements smooth and controlled. He didn't start the engine right away. Just sat there, hands on the wheel, staring straight ahead like he was trying to figure out how to start a conversation he'd rehearsed 1,000 times and forgotten every word of. I broke first. So, Enigma King, that's a hell of a nickname. His jaw tightened. It's not a nickname. Right. It's a title, my bad. I leaned back in the seat, arms crossed. Let me guess, you're secretly royalty, or a crime lord, or both. Neither. Then what? He turned to look at me, and the weight of his gaze made my breath hitch. I'm the alpha no one can read, no one can predict. No pack claims me, and I claim no pack. That makes me dangerous. And lonely, I said before I could stop myself. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise. Pain. He looked away. Yes. The silence stretched between us, heavy and fragile. I should have felt scared, trapped. Every instinct should have been screaming at me to get out of this car and run until my legs gave out. But instead, I felt seen, which was worse. Start at the car, I said quietly, and tell me why. You've been looking for me. Cade didn't argue. He started the engine and the car purred to life. We pulled onto the street, merging into the flow of traffic as the city lights blurred past the windows. "I've been dreaming about you," he said after a long moment. "For 3 years." My stomach dropped. "What?" "Every night, the same dream. You, standing in the rain, looking at me like I was the answer to a question you've forgotten how to ask." His hands tightened on the wheel. "I didn't know your name. Didn't know where you were. Just your face, your scent." I swallowed hard. "That's impossible." "I thought so too." "No, I mean it's literally impossible. Alphas don't dream about Omegas they've never met. That's not how any of this works." "I know." "Then you're lying." He glanced at me, his expression unreadable. "Do you want me to be?" I didn't answer. Couldn't. Because the truth was, I'd been having dreams too. Fragments, flashes, a voice in the dark, hands reaching. For me, golden eyes that burned through every wall I'd ever built. I thought they were just visions. Precognition bleeding into my subconscious. But what if they weren't? "This is insane," I muttered, scrubbing a hand over my face. "You realize that, right? This whole thing, it's completely insane." "Agreed." "So why are we doing this?" Cade was quiet for a moment, then softly. "Because I don't think we have a choice." I wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him that everyone had a choice, that fate was just a pretty word for inevitability people were too scared to fight. But the pull in my chest said otherwise. We drove in silence for a while, the city giving way to quieter streets lined with trees and old brownstones. Cade pulled into a parking spot outside a building that looked like it had been standing since before either of us were born. Ivy crawled up the brick walls, and the windows glowed with warm amber light. "Where are we?" I asked. "Somewhere safe." That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now. He got out of the car, and after a moment's hesitation, I followed. The building had a heavy wooden door with no sign and no number, nothing to indicate what it was. Cade pushed it open, and I stepped inside. The scent hit me first. Vanilla and old books and something earthy like rain-soaked soil. The space was bigger than it looked from the outside. High ceilings, exposed beams, a fireplace crackling in the corner, casting flickering shadows across worn leather furniture. It felt like a sanctuary. "This is..." I trailed off, searching for the right word. "Mine," Cade finished. "One of the few places I can exist without eyes on me." I turned to face him. "And you brought me here because you're scared and angry, and you deserve answers in a place where you can breathe." My throat tightened. "Stop doing that." "What?" "Being decent, it's annoying." His mouth curved, almost a smile. "Noted." I walked deeper into the room, my fingers trailing along the back of a chair. My mind was racing, trying to piece together everything he told me and everything he hadn't. "Okay," I said, turning to face him again. "You've been dreaming about me. Fine. But that doesn't explain why you think we're whatever this is. Fated mates." I flinched. "Don't say that." "Why not?" "Because it's terrifying." Cade took a step closer. Not enough to crowd me, just enough to close the distance. "You think I'm not terrified?" I laughed bitterly. "You don't look terrified. You look like you've already decided how this ends." "I haven't." "Liar." His eyes flashed. "You keep calling me that, because you keep being one." The air between us crackled, electric, dangerous. "I'm not lying to you, Rowan," he said, his voice low and steady. "I'm trying to protect you." "From what?" "From me." The words landed like a punch. I stared at him, my pulse hammering in my ears. "What does that mean?" Cade's worked. He looked away, his hands curling into fists at his sides. "It means I'm not the alpha you think I am. I'm not good. I've done things, hurt people, destroyed things that didn't deserve to be destroyed." He turned back to me, and the pain in his eyes was so raw it made my chest ache. "You deserve better than that." I should have agreed, should have walked out the door and never looked back. But instead I stepped closer. "You don't get to decide what I deserve," I said quietly. "That's my choice, not yours." Cade's breath hitched. "Rowan? And for the record?" I tilted my head, meeting his gaze head on. I'm not exactly a saint either. So maybe we're both a little broken. Maybe that's the point. His hand lifted, hovering near my face like he wanted to touch me but didn't dare. Don't, he whispered. Don't make this harder than it already is. Too late. And then I closed the distance. Not all the way. Just enough to feel the heat radiating off him. Just enough to make my intentions clear. You want to protect me? I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Then stop treating me like I'm fragile. I'm not. I'm here. I'm standing in front of you. And I'm not running. Cade's control shattered. His hand cupped my jaw, thumb brushing my cheekbone, and the touch sent a shockwave through my entire body. My vision blurred, another flash cutting through the present. His lips against mine. Desperate. Claiming. A bond snapping into place, like the final piece of a puzzle I didn't know was incomplete. I gasped, pulling back, my hand flying to my chest. Cade froze. What's wrong? My voice shook. I saw something. What did you see? I couldn't tell him. Couldn't admit that every vision I'd had since meeting him pointed to the same inevitable conclusion. That no matter how hard I fought this, no matter how much I wanted to believe I had a choice, the bond had already chosen for me. Nothing, I lied, and just nothing. Cade searched my face, and I knew he didn't believe me, but he didn't push. He just stepped back, giving me space I didn't ask for and didn't want. You should go, he said quietly, before this gets more complicated. I wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him it was already complicated, that leaving wouldn't change anything. But my legs moved anyway. Toward the door, away from him, and the pull in my chest screamed the entire way. My hand was on the doorknob when the vision hit. Not a flash this time, not a fragment, a tidal wave. The world tilted sideways, and suddenly I wasn't standing in Cade's sanctuary anymore. I was somewhere else, somewhere dark and cold and wet. Rain hammered against cracked pavement. Blood pooled beneath my knees. My hands pressed against a wound I couldn't see, trying to stop the bleeding, but it kept coming. Too much, too fast. Stay with me. My voice, desperate, breaking. Please, just stay with me. Golden eyes stared up at me, unfocused, fading. Rowan? Cade's voice. So quiet I almost couldn't hear it over the rain. I'm sorry. Don't you dare. I was sobbing now, my hands slick with blood that wasn't mine. Don't you fucking dare give up on me. But his eyes were already closing. The vision released me so suddenly I staggered, my knees buckling. I would have hit the floor if Cade hadn't caught me, his arms wrapping around my waist, pulling me against his chest. Rowan. His voice cut through the ringing in my ears. Rowan, look at me! I couldn't. My vision was still blurred, still split between here and there, now and later, alive and dying. Breathe! Cade commanded, one hand sliding up to cup the back of my neck. Just breathe. I tried, failed, tried again. Air filled my lungs in a sharp gasp, and the present snapped back into focus. Cade's face, close, concerned, terrified in a way that made something inside me crack. What did you see? He asked quietly. I shook my head, pulling back, or trying to. His arms didn't loosen. Let go. Not until you tell me what you saw. It doesn't matter. Rowan. I said it doesn't matter. My voice broke on the last word, and I hated myself for it. Hated the way my hands were shaking. Hated the way his scent was the only thing keeping me from falling apart completely. Cade's eyes searched mine. Then slowly, he released me. I stumbled back, putting distance between us. My legs felt like water, but I stayed upright through sheer stubbornness. You're precognitive, he said. Not a question. I laughed bitterly. Congratulations, you figured out my party trick. That wasn't just precognition, that was... He trailed off, his jaw tightening. You saw me die? My breath caught. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Damn him for being perceptive. I turned away, scrubbing a hand over my face. It doesn't mean anything. My visions are unreliable. Half the time they don't even come true. And the other half? I didn't answer. The silence, stretched heavy with everything neither of us wanted to say. Then the lights went out. Not gradually, all at once. The fireplace still flickered, casting wild shadows across the walls, but every other source of light in the building died. Cade moved instantly, positioning himself between me and the door. Stay behind me. What's happening? I don't know. A lie. I could hear it in his voice. My pulse kicked into overdrive. Cade! Someone's here, he said quietly. Someone who shouldn't be. Before I could respond, the door exploded inward, not metaphorically. The heavy wooden door literally splintered off its hinges, crashing into the room with a sound like thunder. 3 figures stepped through the wreckage. Alphas. I could smell them even over the smoke and dust. Dark clothes, cold eyes, the kind of predators who didn't bother with warnings. The one in front smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Cade Thorne, he said, his voice smooth and wrong. You're a hard man to find. Cade didn't move, didn't flinch. Marcus, I see you're still compensating for something. Marcus's smile sharpened. And I see you're still collecting strays. His gaze slid to me, and my skin crawled. A hybrid Omega. Interesting choice. Didn't think you were the type to indulge in damaged goods. Heat flared in my chest. Not fear. Rage. Damaged? I stepped around Cade, ignoring his low growl of warning. That's rich coming from someone who needs 2 backup dancers just to knock on a door. Marcus's expression darkened. Careful, little Omega. You don't know who you're talking to. Don't care either. One of the other alphas moved, and Cade's hand shot out, gripping my wrist. Not hard, just firm enough to stop me from doing something stupid. He's under my protection, Cade said, his voice dropping into something dangerous. Touch him, and I'll rip your throat out. Marcus laughed. Your protection? That's adorable, considering you can barely protect yourself. Try me. The temperature in the room plummeted. Marcus tilted his head, considering. Then he shrugged. I didn't come here to fight, Thorne. I came to deliver a message. I'm not interested. You will be. Marcus pulled something from his coat. A photograph. He tossed it onto the floor between us. Cade didn't look down, but I did, and my blood turned to ice. The photo showed a child, maybe 5 years old. Dark hair, golden eyes. Cade's eyes. Cute kid, Marcus said casually. Shame if something happened to him. Cade's entire body went rigid. You wouldn't. Wouldn't I? Marcus's smile turned cruel. You took something from me, Thorne. It's only fair I return the favor. He has nothing to do with this. He has everything to do with this. He's yours, isn't he? Your dirty little secret. Marcus's gaze flicked to me again. Or maybe not so secret anymore. My mind was racing. Cade had a child. Why hadn't he mentioned that? And why did these alphas care? Leave 'em out of this, Cade said, his voice barely controlled. Then give me what I want. I don't have it. Liar. The air crackled with tension, so thick I could barely breathe. Then Marcus sighed, like this whole conversation and boredom. You have 48 hours, Thorne. Find what I'm looking for, or the kid disappears. Permanently. He turned to leave, his companions following. At the doorway he paused. Oh, and Thorne, keep your new pet close. Hybrid Omegas are valuable. Be a shame if someone decided to collect. Then they were gone. The silence they left behind was deafening. I stared at Cade's back, watching the way his shoulders shook with barely restrained fury. Or fear. Maybe both. You have a son, I said quietly. Cade didn't turn around. Had. What does that mean? It means he's not mine anymore. His voice was hollow, empty. I gave him up to keep him safe. From what? From me? The pain in those 2 words nearly broke me. I stepped closer, careful, like approaching a wounded animal. Cade, you should go. His voice was flat now, controlled. This isn't your fight. Those men just threatened a child. Exactly, which is why you need to leave before you become a target, too. I laughed. Actually laughed. In case you missed it, I'm already a target. Keep your pet close ring, any bells? Cade finally turned to face me, and the look in his eyes made my breath catch. Anguish, guilt, fury, all of it barely leashed. I can't protect you and find him, he said. I can't do both. Then don't protect me. Let me help you find him. No. Why not? Because if something happens to you... He stopped, his jaw clenching. I can't. I won't. You don't get to decide that. The hell I don't. We glared at each other, neither willing to back down. Then my vision fractured again. Not a full vision this time, just a flash. Quick, brutal. A small hand reaching up, tears on a child's face, a voice calling for someone who couldn't hear. I blinked and the present rushed back. I know where he is, I said. Cade went very still. What? The kid, I saw him. Not clearly, but enough. I met his eyes. You need me, Cade. Whether you like it or not. His expression warred between hope and terror. This is a mistake, he said finally. Probably. You could get hurt. I'm already hurt. I gestured at the ruined door. And in case you forgot, I'm apparently valuable enough to kidnap. So my options are, stay here alone and wait to get snatched, or come with you and actually do something useful? Cade stared at me for a long moment. Then he exhaled, the sound ragged. You're insane. This is the guy who dreams about strangers for 3 years. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. Almost. If we do this, he said slowly, you follow my lead. No arguments, no heroics. I make no promises. Rowan? Fine, I'll try. It wasn't much of a compromise, but it was all he was getting. Cade grabbed his coat from the chair, then tossed me a leather jacket that smelled like him. Put this on. It'll help mask your scent. I caught it, raising an eyebrow. Possessive much? Practical. Sure. But I put it on anyway. The jacket was too big, the sleeves hanging past my hands, but the weight of it felt right. Safe. Cade moved toward the ruined door, then paused. He turned back, his eyes finding mine in the firelight. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For not running. My throat tightened. You gave me 5 minutes, remember? We're not even close to done. Something shifted in his expression, something warm and dangerous and utterly terrifying. No, he agreed softly. We're not. And as we stepped through the shattered doorway into the night, the bond between us pulled tighter, not breaking, not releasing, just settling, like it had been waiting for this moment all along. The cold hit me first. Denver in late autumn didn't mess around, and night air bit through the jacket like it had teeth. I pulled it tighter, catching another wave of Cade's scent. He moved fast, his stride long and purposeful. I had to jog to keep up. Where are we going? I asked, my breath misting in the air. Somewhere I can think. We reached his car. He unlocked it and we slid inside. The engine started, but he didn't drive. Just sat there, hands gripping the wheel, staring at nothing. The silence stretched. I broke it. You gonna tell me about him? His jaw tightened. There's nothing to tell. Liar. You love that word. You love earning it. I shifted to face him. Those men just threatened a kid, your kid, and you expect me to help without knowing why? Cade's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. His name is Ezra. He's 6 years old, and he's the only good thing I've ever created. My chest tightened. Then why did you give him up? Because keeping him would have killed him. The words hung between us like smoke. I waited. Cade exhaled slowly. 3 years ago, I made a mistake. Trusted someone I shouldn't have. Marcus Hale, alpha of the Crescent Ridge Pack. Ruthless, calculating, patient. His voice went hollow. I was young, stupid, desperate to prove I belonged somewhere, so I gave him what he wanted, information, access. And when I realized what he was using it for, he stopped. People died, Rowan, because I was too blind to see. That wasn't your fault. Wasn't it? His laugh was bitter. I handed him the weapon. I wanted to argue, but I knew that guilt. I'd worn it myself. What does this have to do with Ezra? Cade's eyes closed. His mother was an Omega in Marcus's pack. Sweet, kind, we bonded. For a few months I thought maybe I'd found something real. His voice cracked. Then Marcus found out, made it very clear that if I didn't obey, she'd disappear. Horror crawled up my spine. Cade. She died giving birth to Ezra. Complications, they said. But I know better. Cade opened his eyes, wet now. I couldn't keep him after that. Marcus would have used him against me, so I gave him to someone I trusted, someone outside the pack system. But he found him anyway. Yeah. The weight of it settled over me. Sorry, I said. Cade shook his head. Don't apologize for something you didn't do. Then stop apologizing for something you couldn't control. He looked at me sharply. I held his gaze. You were manipulated, abused, threatened. That's not the same as being guilty. You don't know that. Yeah, I do, because I've been there too. Cade went very still. What? I shouldn't tell him, but something about the vulnerability in his eyes made the words spill out. I wasn't always a hybrid, I said quietly. I was born a beta, normal. Then puberty hit and something changed. My biology rewired itself. Suddenly I was presenting as Omega in a pack that didn't know what to do with me. That's not possible. Tell that to my DNA. I laughed, bitterly. The pack council wanted to study me. My parents wanted me gone, said I was an abomination. I stared at my hands. They sold me to a research facility. Spent 2 years there while they tried to figure out why I wasn't what I was supposed to be. That's where the precognition came from. An experiment went wrong, fractured something that let me see fragments of things that haven't happened yet. Jesus Christ. I escaped at 17, ran to Denver. I smiled, but it felt wrong. So yeah, I get it. The guilt, the fear, the certainty that you're poison. Cade's hand closed over mine, warm, steady. You're not poison, he said fiercely. Neither are you. We stared at each other, two broken things trying to convince each other they were whole. Then my vision stuttered. A warehouse. Concrete floors. Mildew and metal. A small figure with dark hair and terrified golden eyes huddled in the corner. I gasped, my hand tightening on Cade's. What did you see? He asked. Urgently. Warehouse. East side, near the river. He's there. Ezra, scared but not hurt. Not yet. Cade's entire body went taut. Are you sure? No, but it's the best lead we've got. He put the car in gear, driving with controlled urgency. Tell me about him, I said suddenly. Ezra, what's he like? Cade's expression softened. Stubborn, curious, too smart for his own good. He used to ask me why the sky was blue, and when I told him, he asked why blue wasn't called something else. Said adults were weird. I laughed. Sounds like a handful. He is. The smile faded. Was. I haven't seen him in almost 2 years. He'll remember you. Kids remember the people who love them. Cade's hand found mine again, fingers threading through. I don't deserve you. Good thing I'm not here because you deserve me. Then why? I looked at him. This alpha who'd been searching for me, who'd given up everything to protect a child he couldn't keep. Because maybe we're both tired of running, I said. Cade's eyes met mine, and something between us shifted. Something that felt like choice. The warehouse district loomed ahead. Cade killed the headlights and parked in shadow. We go in quiet, he said, voice commanding. Stay close. If I tell you to run, you run. What if I tell you to run? Rowan. I'm serious. This goes both ways. He looked at me, then nodded. Both ways. We got out. The night swallowed us whole. My heart hammered as we approached the warehouse. Cade moved like a predator, and I matched his steps. At the door he paused. The last chance to back out. Not a chance. His mouth curved. Figured. Then he pushed the door open. And we stepped into whatever hell Marcus had prepared. The warehouse swallowed us in darkness thick enough to choke on. The smell hit next. Mildew. Rust. Something acrid that made my nose burn. Cade's hand found the small of my back, guiding me forward. The touch was light, protective, and it sent heat racing up my spine despite the cold. See anything? He whispered. I closed my eyes, reaching for the vision, for any fragment that might help. My precognition didn't work on command, but sometimes if I pushed hard enough... There. A flicker. Stairs. Metal grating. Down, not up. Basement, I breathed. There's a basement! Cade's hand tightened on my back. Show me. We moved through the darkness, my vision guiding us past overturned crates and abandoned machinery. The air grew colder as we descended a narrow staircase that groaned under our weight. At the bottom, a hallway stretched into shadow. 3 doors. My pulse kicked. Which one? I reached out with my mind, desperate for another vision, another clue, anything. A sound. Faint. So faint I almost missed it. Humming. A child's voice, soft and scared, humming a lullaby to keep the darkness at bay. There. I pointed to the middle door. Cade moved past me, testing the handle. Locked. He pulled something from his jacket. A thin piece of metal. The lock clicked open in seconds. Remind me never to piss you off, I muttered. Too late for that. The door swung open, and there he was, Ezra. Huddled in the corner of a small concrete room, knees pulled to his chest and golden eyes wide and terrified. He looked so small, so breakable. Dad? The word came out barely above a whisper, like he was afraid saying it too loud would make Cade disappear. Cade crossed the room in 3 strides and dropped to his knees, pulling Ezra into his arms. The kid buried his face in Cade's shoulder, and I heard a sob break free, from which one I couldn't tell. I've got you, Cade whispered, his voice raw. I've got you. You're safe now. I knew you'd come. I knew it. Ezra's words tumbled out in a rush. The bad man said you wouldn't, but I knew. I told him you'd find me. Always, kid. Always. My throat tightened watching them. Something about seeing Cade like this, all walls down, nothing but love and relief and fierce protectiveness made my chest ache in ways I didn't have words for. Ezra pulled back, scrubbing at his eyes with small fists, then his gaze landed on me. Who's that? A friend, Cade said, glancing at me. His name is Rowan. Hi. Ezra's voice was small, uncertain. I crouched down to his level. Hey, kid. You okay? They hurt you? He shook his head. Just scared. Yeah, well, being scared is smart. Means you're paying attention. I offered a small smile. Your dad's pretty terrifying when he wants to be. Good thing you're on his good side. Ezra's lips twitched. Almost a smile. He's not that scary. Clearly you haven't seen him order coffee. That got a real laugh. Small, but genuine. Cade stood, lifting Ezra with him like he weighed nothing. We need to move. Now. What about the bad man? Ezra whispered. Let me worry about him. We moved back through the hallway, up the stairs, Cade carrying Ezra the whole way. The kid's arms were wrapped tight around his neck, face buried against his shoulder. We made it halfway across the warehouse floor before I felt it. The pull. Wrong. Violent. My vision fractured. Cade turning. Marcus stepping from shadow. A gun. The sound of it firing so loud my ears rang. Down! I slammed into Cade's side just as the shot cracked through the air. We hit the concrete hard, Cade curling around Ezra, shielding him with his body. Well, well. Marcus's voice echoed through the warehouse. Breaking and entering, theft. You really don't learn, do you, Thorne? Cade shifted, keeping Ezra behind him, his eyes never leaving Marcus. Let us go. This doesn't have to get ugly. Doesn't it? Marcus stepped closer, gun still raised. You took something from me. I'm simply returning the favor. He's a child. He's leverage. Marcus's smile was cold. And now, so is your new pet. His gaze slid to me, and my skin crawled. Touch him and I'll rip your spine out through your throat, Cade said, his voice dropping into something lethal. Big words for someone on the ground. I could feel Cade's fury vibrating through the air, could smell it. Smoke and ozone and barely leashed violence. But more than that, I could feel his fear. Not for himself, for us. And in that moment, something inside me snapped into place. The precognition flared, not a vision, something else, something raw and instinctive. I pushed, not with my hands, with my mind. The gun flew from Marcus's grip, clattering across the concrete 15 feet away. Marcus stared. What the hell? Telekinesis, I said, standing slowly. Surprise! Cade looked at me, eyes wide. Rowan! Get Ezra out of here. Not without you. I'll be right behind you, I promise. Marcus lunged. I pushed again, sending him stumbling backward into a stack of crates. They crashed down around him, and I didn't wait to see if he got back up. Go! Cade hesitated one more heartbeat. Then he ran, Ezra still in his arms. I followed, using my ability to slam doors behind us, to throw debris in Marcus's path, and to buy us the seconds we needed. We burst out of the warehouse into the night. The car was close. So close. Cade shoved Ezra into the back seat, then turned to me, his hands gripping my shoulders. "That was insane," he said. "Yeah, well, desperate times." His eyes searched mine. Then before I could process what was happening, he pulled me against him, one hand cradling the back of my head, his forehead pressed to mine. "Thank you," he breathed. "Thank you." I could feel his heartbeat against my chest, could smell the fear and adrenaline and something warmer underneath. "We're not safe yet," I whispered. "I know." But neither of us moved. In the back seat, Ezra's small voice broke the moment. "Dad? Is Rowan your mate?" Cade went very still. So did I. Cade started, then stopped. His eyes found mine, and in them I saw every question, every fear, every desperate hope he'd been carrying. "Maybe," he said softly, "if he'll have me." My breath caught. The bond between us pulled. Not demanding, just waiting. "Ask me later," I said, "when we're not actively being murdered." His mouth curved. "Deal." We got in the car. Cade drove, and as Denver's lights blurred past, Ezra fell asleep in the back seat, safe and whole, and I sat in the passenger seat, Cade's hand finding mine in the darkness. It should have felt terrifying. Instead, it felt like coming home. The warmth lasted exactly 3 miles. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, frowning at the unknown number. A text. Just one line. "Ask him how long he's known." My blood went cold. "What is it?" Cade's voice cut through the silence. I stared at the message. Nothing. Wrong number. Lie. But something in my gut twisted, warning me not to share. Not yet. Another buzz. Ask him about the research facility. About Dr. Chen. About the list. My hands started shaking. The research facility, the place I'd spent 2 years being poked and prodded, where they'd fractured my mind trying to understand why I'd changed from beta to omega, where they'd cataloged every ability that emerged from their experiments. "Rowan?" Cade's hand tightened on mine. "What's wrong?" I pulled my hand away. "Stop the car." "What?" I said, "Stop the car." Cade's jaw clenched, but he pulled over to the side of the road. The engine idled. In the back seat, Ezra stirred but didn't wake. I turned to face Cade fully. "How did you find me?" His expression shuddered. "What?" "You said you'd been dreaming about me for 3 years, that you didn't know my name, didn't know where I was." My voice stayed level, but my heart was hammering. "So how did you find me?" Cade's silence was answer enough. "You're lying," I whispered. "Rowan, I can explain." "Then explain." My phone buzzed again. I looked down. Dr. Chen sold the list 6 months ago. Every hybrid, every ability, every location, Cade bought. It. He's known about you this whole time. The phone slipped from my fingers. "You knew." The words came out strangled. "You knew about me. About what I could do. About where I was." Cade's face went pale. "It's not what you think." "Really? Because I think you manipulated me. Used me. Made me believe in some cosmic bond bullshit so I'd help you find your kid." "That's not true." "Which part?" I laughed, and it sounded broken even to my own ears. "The manipulation? The lies? Or the parts where you made me think I actually mattered?" "You do matter." "Stop." My voice cracked. "Just stop." Cade reached for me, and I shoved his hand away. Hard. "Don't touch me." "Rowan, please, let me explain." "You had plenty of time to explain. Before you showed up at my work. Before you followed me. Before you made me think this pull between us was real." Tears burned my eyes, and I hated myself for them. Was any of it real? The dreams? The bond? Or was it all just a convenient story to get the freak hybrid to play psychic bloodhound? It was real. Cade's voice broke. "All of it, I swear." "You're lying." "I'm not." "Then why didn't you tell me?" I was shouting now, months of buried pain rising to the surface. "Why didn't you tell me you bought my file? That you knew exactly what I could do? That you tracked me down like some kind of asset to acquire?" Cade's hands gripped the steering wheel. Because I knew you'd run. Damn right, I would have run! And I couldn't let that happen. I needed you. Ezra needed you. And there it was. The truth underneath all the pretty words. Needed. Not wanted. Needed. Like a tool. A weapon. A thing to be used. Get out of the car, I said quietly. What? Get out of the car. Rowan, you can't walk home from here. Watch me. I grabbed the door handle, but Cade's hand shot out, gripping my wrist. Not hard, just enough to stop me. Please, he said, and his voice was raw, desperate. Please don't go. Not like this. I looked at him, really looked at him, at the fear in his eyes, the guilt, the pain, and underneath it all, something that might have been love if it hadn't been built on lies. Did you ever actually dream about me? I asked softly. Or was that a lie, too? Cade's throat worked. I did dream about you. After I read your file, after I saw your picture, but before that... He stopped. Before that, I was just data. No. Yes? I pulled my wrist free. I was a name on a list. A set of abilities, a solution to your problem. That's not fair. Fair. I laughed bitterly. You want to talk about fair? You made me think I was special, that the bond meant something, that maybe for once in my miserable life someone actually chose me for me. My voice broke. But you didn't choose me. You bought me. Rowan? How much did you pay for the list, Cade? What's the going rate for a precognitive hybrid these days? His silence was damning. I grabbed my phone from the floor and opened the car door. Don't, Cade said. Please, it's not safe. It's safer than being with you. Marcus is still out there. He knows about you now, about what you can do. Then I'll deal with him, like I've dealt with everything else, alone. I stepped out into the cold night air. Behind me, Ezra's sleepy voice drifted from the back seat. Rowan, where are you going? The sound of it nearly broke me. I turned back, meeting the kid's confused, frightened eyes. Take care of your dad, okay? He needs someone. But you're coming back, right? I couldn't answer that. Rowan. Cade was out of the car now, moving toward me. Don't do this. Don't walk away from us. Us? I backed up a step. There is no us. There never was. Just you, using me to get what you wanted. That's not true. Prove it. How? You can't. I turned away. That's the point. I love you. The words hit me like a physical blow. I stopped, didn't turn around. You don't get to say that, I whispered. Not after this. Not after everything. It's true. It's too late. And I walked away. I heard Cade call my name, heard Ezra crying, heard the pull in my chest screaming at me to turn back. But I kept walking. Because some bonds weren't meant to be. Some were just pretty lies wrapped in destiny. And I was done being someone's tool. Even if it killed me. My legs carried me 2 blocks before they gave out. I stumbled against a brick wall, my hand pressed to my chest where it felt like something was tearing apart from the inside. The bond, screaming, clawing, demanding I turn back. I gritted my teeth and pushed forward. The streets were empty this time of night. Just me and the streetlights and the cold air burning my lungs with every breath. And my phone buzzed again. I pulled it out. Good choice, little Omega. Meet me at the corner of 5th and Blake. Alone. Or I'll make sure Cade's kid doesn't see morning. Marcus. Of course it was Marcus. He'd played me perfectly. Sent. Those texts knowing exactly how I'd react. Knowing the anger and betrayal would do what force never could. Separate me from Cade. Clever bastard, I muttered. Another buzz. You have 10 minutes. I looked at the message, then at the direction I'd been walking. Away from Cade, away from safety, straight toward whatever trap Marcus had waiting. Smart move would be to call Cade. Tell him. Let him handle it. But that required trust. And mine was currently shattered into about 1,000,000 pieces. I closed my eyes, reaching for my precognition, pushing past the pain, past the anger, searching for any glimpse of what waited for me. The vision came in fragments. Marcus, smiling, a syringe in his hand filled with something dark and viscous. The research facility taught me so much about hybrids, about how to suppress certain abilities. My body unable to move, unable to fight. The telekinesis. gone. And Cade's voice, distant, screaming my name. I opened my eyes. Well, that's terrifying. But even knowing what waited, even seeing the trap laid out in perfect clarity, I couldn't ignore the threat to Ezra. That kid didn't ask for any of this, didn't deserve to be used as leverage in Marcus's sick game. I pulled up my phone and typed a message. Not to Cade, to Milo. If you don't hear from me in an hour, tell Cade Thorne that Marcus has me. 5th and Blake. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Then I started walking. 5th and Blake was an industrial area, abandoned factories and empty lots. The perfect place for things people didn't want witnessed. I arrived with 2 minutes to spare. Marcus stood in the center of the intersection, hands in his pockets, looking for all the world like he was waiting for a bus instead of planning murder. Punctual, he said. I like that in Prey. Funny. I was just thinking the same about Predators. I stopped 10 feet away. Where's Ezra? Safe for now. Marcus tilted his head. You know, I wasn't sure you'd come. Thought maybe you'd run straight back to Thorne, beg forgiveness, play the tragic Omega. Clearly you don't know me very well. Oh, I know you perfectly, Rowan. He pulled something from his jacket. The syringe from my vision. Hybrid Omega, precognitive, telekinetic. Beta-born, but Omega presenting. The research facility's greatest failure and greatest success, all wrapped in one broken package. My jaw clenched. What do you want? What I've always wanted. Control. He took a step closer. Cade thinks he's so clever. Buying that list, finding you, using you to locate his precious son. Marcus laughed. But he's not the only one who knows how to acquire assets. I'm not an asset. Aren't you? Another step. That's all any of us are, really. Tools to be used by whoever's smart enough to wield us. Deep thoughts from a knockoff Bond villain. His smile sharpened. Sarcasm. How delightful. Let's see if you're still witty after this. He lunged. I pushed with my mind, sending him stumbling back. But my power felt sluggish. Wrong. Marcus straightened, still smiling. Did you think I'd come unprepared? The air around us is laced with a mild suppressant. Nothing permanent. Just enough to dull that pretty gift of yours. Panic spiked through me. I pushed again, weaker this time. Stop fighting, Marcus said softly. It only makes this harder. Good. I turned and ran, not away, toward the nearest building. If I could get inside, put walls between us, buy myself time. The vision slammed into me mid-stride. Cade, standing in this exact spot, blood on his hands, Marcus on the ground, not moving, and me, pressed against Cade's chest, crying. I stumbled, my ankle twisting, pain shot at my leg, and I went down hard, palms scraping against concrete. Marcus's footsteps approached, slow, confident. You saw something just now, didn't you? His voice was right behind me. That's the problem with precognition. Sometimes you see things you wish you hadn't. I rolled onto my back, glaring up at him. Touch me and he'll kill you. I'm counting on it. Marcus crouched down, syringe in hand. That's the point, little Omega. I don't just want Cade's power, I want him destroyed, broken. And what better way than to take the one thing he actually loves? The needle descended toward my neck. Then Marcus flew backward, his body slamming into a car hard enough to dent the door. I looked up. Cade stood 20 feet away, eyes burning gold, his entire body vibrating with barely controlled fury. Get away from him, Cade said, his voice lethal. Marcus laughed, blood trickling from his mouth. Right on time. Cade moved, and I'd never seen anything like it. Pure violence, pure rage. He was on Marcus in seconds, hands around his throat, lifting him off the ground. You don't get to touch him, Cade snarled. You don't get to threaten him. You don't get to breathe the same air. Cade. My voice came out weak. Don't. He didn't hear me, or didn't care. Marcus gasped for air, clawing at Cade's hands. Do it. Kill me. Prove you're the monster everyone says you are. Cade, stop! I pushed myself up, ignoring the pain in my ankle. This is what he wants. Don't give it to him. Cade's hands tightened. I limped forward, my hand finding his shoulder. Please, please don't do this. His eyes met mine. Wild. Desperate, barely human. He tried to hurt you, Cade said hoarsely. I know. He threatened Ezra. I know. He deserves this. Maybe. I moved closer, my hand sliding to cup his face. But you don't deserve what it'll cost you. Something in Cade's expression cracked. His hands opened. Marcus dropped, gasping, collapsing to his knees. Cade turned to me fully, his hands hovering near my face like he was afraid I'd disappear. You came for closure, he whispered. Didn't you? I should have said yes. Should have used this moment to walk away clean. But I was so tired of lying. No, I said quietly. I came because even after everything, even knowing you used me, I couldn't let him hurt you. Or Ezra. My voice cracked. I'm such an idiot. You're not. I am. Because I stopped, the words catching in my throat. Say it, Cade breathed. Please. Behind us, sirens wailed, getting closer. I met his eyes, golden, desperate, honest for the first time since we'd met. I still choose you, I whispered, even though I shouldn't, even though it hurts. Cade's forehead dropped to mine, and the bond between us settled, not perfect, not healed, but chosen, finally. The sirens were close now. Red and blue lights painted the street in flashes of color. Cade pulled back just enough to look at me. We need to go. What about Marcus? We both looked down. Marcus was gone. Just a smear of blood on the pavement where he'd been kneeling. Coward, I muttered. Cade's hand found mine. Can you walk? My ankle throbbed, but I nodded. Yeah, let's get out of here. We made it back to the car where Ezra was waiting, safe with a beta woman I didn't recognize. Cade's friend, apparently. Someone he trusted. The kid's face lit up when he saw us. Rowan, you came back! I slid into the back seat next to him, managing a smile despite everything. Yeah, well, couldn't let your dad have all the fun. Ezra threw his arms around me, and the simple trust in that gesture nearly broke me all over again. Cade drove us somewhere safe. Not his sanctuary. Somewhere new. A small house on the outskirts of Denver with a porch and a yard, and absolutely nothing remarkable about it. Perfect for disappearing. Inside, Ezra crashed on the couch within minutes, exhaustion finally claiming him. Cade and I stood in the kitchen, an ocean of unspoken words between us. Your ankle, he said quietly. Let me look at it. I'm fine. Rowan. I sighed and sat at the table, letting him kneel in front of me. His hands were gentle as he examined the swelling, his touch careful, professional. It's not broken, he said, just sprained. Ice and rest. Got it, Dr. Thorne. His mouth twitched, almost a smile, the silence stretched. I'm sorry, he said finally, for lying, for manipulating you, for making you feel like you were just a tool to be used. He looked up at me, and the pain in his eyes was raw. You deserve better than that. Yeah, I did. I know. He sat back on his heels. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know trusting me again would be stupid, but I need you to know that everything I felt, everything between us that was real, the bond, the pull, the way you made me feel like maybe I wasn't completely broken. His voice cracked. That was all real. I studied him. This alpha who'd searched for me, lied to me, protected me, and somehow managed to crack open every wall I'd ever built. You know what the worst part is? I said quietly. What? I believe you. His breath caught. I believe that you felt it, that the bond was real, that you weren't trying to hurt me. I leaned forward. But you still chose to lie? You chose to hide the truth because you were scared I'd run. And that's not how this works, Cade. Love doesn't survive on fear and manipulation. I know. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you've spent your whole life trying to control outcomes, trying to protect people by keeping them in the dark, and all it's done is hurt everyone you care about. Cade flinched like I'd struck him. Good. He needed to hear it. So here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to tell me everything, every secret, every lie, every single thing you've been hiding because you thought it would protect me, and then I'm going to decide if this bond is worth fighting for. And if you decide it's not, then we walk away, clean, no drama, no regrets. Cade was quiet for a long moment, then he nodded. Okay. And he told me everything, about the research facility and how he'd tracked down Dr. Chen. about buying the list not just for abilities but for names of people Marcus might target, about finding my file and seeing my picture and feeling the bond snap into place before he'd ever met me, about the dreams that came after, real dreams, not manipulation, just his subconscious reaching for the person his soul had already chosen, about his fear that if I knew the truth, I'd see him the way he saw himself, as a monster, a user, someone who destroyed everything he touched. He told me about Ezra's mother, about the guilt he still carried, about giving up his son because he thought love meant letting go. And when he was done, when every secret had been laid bare between us, he looked at me with eyes that held nothing back. "That's all of it," he said hoarsely. "Every ugly truth. I understand if you want to leave." I looked at him. Really looked at him. This broken, beautiful, terrified alpha who'd tried so hard to protect everyone that he'd forgotten how. To let anyone in. "You're an idiot," I said. He blinked. "What?" "An idiot. A gorgeous, frustrating, self-sabotaging idiot." I leaned forward, my hand cupping his jaw. "You think love means sacrifice, means protecting people by pushing them away. But that's not love, Cade. That's fear." "I know." "Do you? Because I need you to understand something." I met his eyes. "I'm not going to run. I'm not going to leave just because things get hard or scary or complicated, but I need you to promise me something. Anything. No more lies. No more secrets. No more deciding what I can or can't handle." My thumb brushed his cheekbone. "If we do this, if we choose this bond, it's going to be messy and imperfect and probably terrifying. But it has to be honest. All of it." Cade's hand covered mine, pressing it against his face. "I promise no more lies." "Good. Is that... Are you saying yes?" I smiled. "I'm saying let's try. One day at a time, one truth at a time, and the hope that..." Hope flooded his expression and made my chest ache. "I love you," he whispered. "I know I don't deserve to say it, but I do. I love you." "I know." I leaned closer, my lips barely brushing his. "And eventually I'll say it back. When you've earned it." "I will. I swear I will." "Good. Now kiss me before I change my mind." He did, and the bond between us flared. Not Wancheng, not perfect, but chosen, honest, real. From the couch, Ezra's sleepy voice drifted over. "Does this mean Rowan's staying?" Cade pulled back, smiling against my lips. "What do you think, kid?" I looked at Ezra. At this brave little boy who'd been through hell and still had hope in his eyes. Then at Cade. At this alpha who'd finally learned that love meant trusting someone enough to be vulnerable. "Yeah," I said softly. "I'm staying." Ezra grinned. "Cool. Can we get pancakes tomorrow?" I laughed. "Sure, kid. Pancakes." Cade's hand found mine, threading our fingers together. And for the first time in my entire life, I felt it. Home. Not a place, not a pack, not a destiny written in stars. Just three broken people choosing each other again and again and again,